This is the old man, Bruce. I'm down here in the my cave again here, my road cave, not my usual studio. I'm back home since I'm on the road here for the holidays. Well, KB and I were on the air last night talking a number of issues. And one of those issues that we talked about was the breaking news that just happened moments ago. And that news was that the FSU Board of Trustees, the BOT as they call it, has decided to file a lawsuit against the ACC today in Florida court in regards to several different complaints. And this is the first concrete step now that FSU has taken to show that they are strongly committed to leaving and departing the ACC. So there's a lot of reporting going on out there now. We're not breaking any news here. We're responding to the news. KB obviously cannot join us right now, but I'm sure he'll have his thoughts on this the next time that we're together very soon. Now, let me give you again what has happened here in the last 20 to 30 minutes. The BOT had an emergency meeting this morning at 10 a.m. It was a video conference call with all the major players involved in FSU sports and the university, from the president of the university to the booster club president, to AD Michael Alford, and to all the BOT board members, including former FSU quarterback Drew Weatherford, who has been a very vocal member of the representatives pushing forward for revenue issues concerning Florida State and how they were being treated by the ACC. So just minutes ago, the FSU Board of Trustees unanimously on the vote, which I was watching live, unanimously agreed and approved to file a complaint against the ACC in Circuit Court of Florida in Tallahassee, including 7 different counts of the complaint, which include restraint of trade, unenforceable penalties, the penalty of withdrawing, which I'll talk about in a minute, breach of contract, breach of fiduciary duty, and a violation of public policy. This was a unanimous vote. There's absolutely no doubt that every member had already been pre-briefed on this entire presentation. And obviously, the vote was well known before it was issued today. But in my opinion, this is a substantial step forward for FSU to leave the ACC. This matter is basically going to force now, when they file this today, the legal counsel, who gave a very, very detailed briefing of what this complaint is about, is going to be filed today in court. Now, the ACC legal representation will not likely get this complaint until after Christmas, probably during the week between Christmas and New Year's. Okay, they will then be on the clock to respond legally in writing to the elements of the complaint. And for many of you who aren't familiar with the courts, I am not a lawyer, but I am familiar with certain parts of the legal system, including civil actions such as this and what happens. And what I want to say is this, just, off the top of my head, this step taken by FSU is without a doubt the second most important thing that they've done since they joined the ACC years ago. This now is what all FSU fans, alumni, and supporters of the university, especially of university sports, has been waiting for since the BOT announced that there were great concerns regarding revenue sharing in the ACC. This step is now, without a doubt, going to force the ACC to negotiate in good faith with Florida State on answering the grievances. If not, then this complaint could go to trial, and that's neither side ever wants to go to trial. But the important thing is the discovery phase. That is the phase of any legal lawsuit that sides don't like to get involved with. And in this case, the ACC must be very concerned about the discovery phase if we go that deep into the lawsuit without a settlement, because then Florida State and its legal counsel can direct and ask for all types of documentation regarding past agreements between the ACC, TV networks, emails, phone messages, all documentation, so they can be studied by the FSU legal staff. And according to what was given in the presentation today, these documents are basically kept under lock and key at the ACC headquarters, that FSU cannot, including their legal staff, cannot even get an official copy of these documents to bring back to Tallahassee for the purpose of review and study. All of that has to be done in a vault with a representative of the ACC posted there with the document itself. You would think that they were dealing with classified information in Washington, D.C. in a secure vault with guards. This is unprecedented. I've never heard of such a thing. And if you think about the constraints in looking at one of these documents, can you imagine how scared the ACC must be to want to give up all documentation regarding these agreements, including the grant of rights and the withdrawal penalty of how all this went down in the past years? This must scare them to death, the discovery phase, if we get to that point. But we have taken the first step now, the first concrete step. This is no longer just words or being said or talking heads, that this is a legal lawsuit that's been brought today. It was a unanimous decision, and I want to just go down and look at some of the things that were said here. And let me pull this up. These are some of the tweets that I did send out on X or Twitter or whatever you'd like to call it. Let's see here. These are some of my notes. The legal filing has 7 counts. It was a unanimous vote again. One of the quotes was, the ACC failed FSU in a cooperative effort to resolve financial concerns. FSU made it very clear today, and the president of the university made it very clear today, that FSU tried to resolve, to the best of their ability, their financial concerns with the ACC. And that is a big deal for a court to hear that they tried to resolve and get something settled prior to moving to a lawsuit. That is an important step when you file. The case is going to be filed in the Circuit Court of Tallahassee, which is positive for Florida State, and that case will be handled in the state of Florida. So that is a good thing as well. Let's see what else here. The grant of rights. This thing is such a close-hold document. There are some unofficial versions of the grant of rights floating around out there, but the Board of Trustees expressed there are overwhelming concerns that they can't really get an official copy from the ACC. They can't get a notarized copy of this thing to work on it back in Tallahassee with their legal staff. The legal staff of Florida State, and when I say this is outside counsel, these are a professional group of lawyers in Tallahassee that do contract law, that they have to go to Charlotte. I believe that's, Charlotte, and go to their headquarters there and get this copies, take their notes there under lock and key, but cannot take any copies. It's unbelievable that documentation like that could not be officially taken out. So starting today, the ACC, they will be obviously aware this is coming, but when they take receipt of it, which is generally now done electronically, unless they want it delivered in person or served with the lawsuit, which happens a lot in common civil cases. Generally, the lawyer for the other side, they have an agreement not to have to do that. This will take place between Christmas and New Year's. At worst, it'll be right after the new year begins. I think you could see how adamant the FSU president of the university was in his statements. You could see how adamant that AD Alford, and I knew this. I put this out like most other media. We felt something was coming, and today is that day. And I congratulate the Board of Trustees, all FSU officials for taking this step. Very important. The FSU meeting got underway at 10 o'clock. It was very well organized. It obviously had been organized well in advance of the meeting. The center concern of this is about the ACC penalty for withdrawing from the conference. Now, I put that in quotes when I put it out on Twitter. Penalty for withdrawing. That's the terms the ACC uses. The current penalty, this is not grant of rights penalty. This is just to withdraw. If you decide, anybody could step up and say, I want out of the ACC. It will cost you, the estimated cost for any ACC member is $572 million. $572 million, not including a grant of rights penalty, which the ACC also holds that agreement with ESPN in their vault. Okay, that could be upwards to another $400 million. So to get out, this could cost Florida State almost $1 billion if they are not successful in this suit. This is an unprecedented lawsuit and will set the stage for other universities who will closely watch what's happening now in the legal system with Florida State. That's the news here so far. I think this is unbelievable. And I've been following Florida State since the mid 1960s when I started as a teenager or probably younger than that, listening to Florida State games on the AM radio, transistor radio, if you can believe that. And this is a big day. This is a big event because the only way forward for Florida State in terms of playing at the top level of what we now call college football, what I call NFL light or NFL minor league football, and to compete for a national championship, they must get into one of what I think will be two mega conferences. And that is either the SEC or the Big Ten. That's the only way forward. I see the best fit for Florida State down the road is the Big Ten Conference. I think FSU fans would love this. I think this is a great fit for the Big Ten and for the TV media, which runs college football today. And Fox and CBS and NBC, I think, would love to have Florida State's media rights in that conference with the Big Ten. So I think that's the best fit moving forward. There's absolutely little doubt in my mind at this point of the meaning of this, the importance of this to Florida State University and to the fans that follow Florida State sports. It's incredible what is going on. This is big time. Let's take a few look at the comments here. What people may be doing. Megan Kleeman, yo, hey, welcome to the program, Megan. I know you're excited about this as everybody else. It's all over Twitter and X and social media, Instagram, all over YouTube. This is the big topic that we'll be talking about everywhere nationally as well. FSU is leaving. I think, Megan, this is clearly a concrete step that FSU has been working on now for the past year or so. And I think that without a doubt, this is exciting news and a great Christmas present for Florida State's fans and supporters. Mark Dorfman, there's something wrong when they have to work so hard to hide the agreement. You're exactly right, Mark. And that's what I was saying earlier, that when this is unbelievable. Now, listen, I've worked in the military a long time. We used to have secure vaults when there were secret classified documents that you had to go into and it was under lock and key. It couldn't leave the vault. That's government classified top secret information. I have never heard of such type of legal contracts being held this way. Obviously, the ACC and whatever those documents and agreements say, which now the legal staffs of Florida State, the outside counsel, has looked at these, but they had to go there. They couldn't get copies. It is amazing that there's some substance in those that the ACC and ESPN didn't want leaked out. Very, very interesting. Who else do we have here? Eric Schumann, give them zero. Okay. Yeah. This whole thing is about money and it's about fairness. And that's what the courts will consider. Thanks for joining us today. Ale Squire, what nut thought it was a good idea to sign an agreement until 2036? I think that's going to be a very interesting part of this case, because other officials at Florida State did make some agreements and checked some boxes as the years went by. This case started, I think, back really when Maryland, the University of Maryland, tried to leave the ACC. They did officially leave, but they got sued by the ACC as well. So a lot is going to be learned about that lawsuit, because right after Maryland got out, and there was a settlement in this case because it never went to court, but there was a settlement. I believe there was a settlement, and I don't think it went to court. All of a sudden, the ACC jacked up the penalties for withdrawing. They tripled, I think it was doubled or tripled the amount. When it first started out, when the ACC started, it was like $50 million to leave. Now it's $576 million to leave. Outrageous. So this will obviously be up for discussion. Very, very interesting. Ale Squire, RTR, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Spell that out for me, brother. Should have joined the SEC when offered in the early 90s. Well, that's water under the bridge at this point. And, we never look backwards. Don't look backwards. You got to look forward. And today was a forward-leaning step, concrete, by filing this lawsuit. Stephen, welcome to our program. Been a long time coming. We've got to do what got to do for FSU future. You're exactly right, Stephen. This is about the future. This is bigger than anything else, any other topics about FSU. This is bigger than high school signing day. It's not even close, okay? This is bigger than the exhibition game called the Orange Bowl coming up in the next several days. This is bigger than any players that are opting out. This is about the future of FSU competing for a national title, okay? Despite the one that was stolen from us by ESPN and the SEC. That was stolen. We know that. We're not commenting on that more today. But this is about us, the ability to sponsor financially all the sports programs at FSU moving forward down the road, 5-10 years down the road, and going to probably the strongest mega conference, which is the Big Ten. Let's see, Mike, we have to leave if we want to be pertinent. Exactly. I like the word pertinent, Mike. I like the word pertinent. That being essential, being pertinent, being able to compete, that is the key. GOR locked down in a skiff. Why? Stephen, exactly right. You know the word skiff. Obviously, you've either worked for the government, you've been around the military, or you're very familiar with those terms. A skiff, a very secure facility with very clear guidelines that a lot of corporations have if they're dealing with classified documents with U.S. government contracts. A skiff is a very highly regulated facility. And so it's very interesting that they have basically, now a skiff also has certain construction standards. I'm not going to go that far to say it's a skiff, Stephen. We don't know that, but it's a very secured area that they don't want these documents out floating around or someone to stuff down their pants and carry out of the building. That's for sure. Very interesting. Good comment. Okay, Mike, give me this thumbs up and a Coke and a smile. I agree. 2 thumbs up. Big day for Florida State and a big day for our future. So break out the champagne at the parties, the Christmas party and the New Year's Eve party. Totally spot on about discovery. It can ruin reputations. Lenford, you're exactly right. I don't know how familiar you are with, I've been involved in a discovery. I've been involved in depositions, and this is a big deal because if you're the discovery element really puts people on edge. They have to answer very specific questions. If they don't answer them appropriately, that can go back into court and the judge can take a complaint that the discovery is not in good faith, and all types of things come out in discovery. And if you look across civil lawsuits or criminal lawsuits, but mainly civil lawsuits, all types of things come out in discovery, which can be very embarrassing and very unnerving for the side that has to produce that, which in this case, it would be the ACC and any partners that they've had in any type of secret agreement. Very, very interesting. Let's see, Brett, thanks for joining us here on the program this morning. Why isn't Clemson, Miami, UNC getting in on this lawsuit? I think they are sitting back and watching this very carefully. They're going to learn a lot from this lawsuit, and potentially they are taking the back seat to study what's going on and use it to basically look for their path out of the ACC. These universities as well are under consideration, I think, to be gobbled up by either the SEC or the Big Ten. I doubt if they'd want to go to the Big 12, which is possibly the third mega conference, but I think at a little bit lower level, obviously. But they're going to sit back. They're going to monitor all of this very closely to see what their next move may be. I did think that there could be a combined lawsuit in this where everybody shares in the fees, the financial fees to outside counsel, but obviously that did not happen. Florida State has decided to go alone on this. Brett, is it only FSU that the Big Ten wants? I don't know the answer to that. I think the Big Ten is open to more than just FSU. However, everybody thought FSU, and again, there was no talk of Big Ten in this announcement today. This announcement was not about realignment. Okay, there was no realignment talk, no conference talk. This was about a legal lawsuit being filed against the ACC today only. So your question is about the future of realignment, and that is obviously up in the air, but I think the Big Ten wants more than just FSU. Stephen, I'm Air Force still. So I hit that right on the nose, didn't I, Stephen? When you said SCIF, you and I both know what a SCIF is, and we also know how highly secure they are. I can't say they operate a SCIF because there's certain construction regulations about that business, and I'm familiar with that. Mark, I think ACC ultimately settles. Most of these lawsuits, and I believe the real goal by Florida State is to bring the ACC to the settlement table, okay? If any of you, know anything about lawsuits, most never see the inside of a courtroom. Neither side really wants to go into the courtroom. Neither side wants to expose what's been going on. And I think the ACC has a lot more to lose and to give up in the discovery phase that would go into court. You're talking about subpoenaing witnesses, bringing in ACC officials, putting them on the stand, under oath depositions. It is messy. It gets ugly. Okay. It's like an ugly divorce. All types of things come out in these. I think that ultimately FSU is trying to force the ACC to a negotiated settlement in favor of FSU. Okay, taking more comments here we go. Brett, my guess would be FSU and UNC since the Irish are not at the table. Yeah, we're not, again, talking too much about who's going where. This is a realignment thing, which right now Florida State's not focused on realignment, even though they could have had talks with the Big Ten, but the Big Ten is basically sitting back saying, you guys got to get out of your current situation. If you get out of your current situation and become an independent, basically, then why don't we sit down and do more talking? And the SEC, let's not count them out of this. I'd rather see us go to the Big Ten, but you've got to become an independent body, really, so there's no look of collaboration. So the ACC can't sue the Big Ten for poaching, illegally or something of that nature. So I think at this point, let's keep it to one step, and that's the legal lawsuit that is being filed today and probably this afternoon. Big Ten wants FSU, Al Vasta. Big Ten wants FSU and Notre Dame. I think it's a great fit, and I hope that's what happens, Al. We got Tampa Guy. The ACC will not go through discovery. A $560 million payoff is unrealistic. This is a big contract law case. It's going to be basically, did Florida State also check boxes after their initial agreement to enter the ACC, the grant of rights? How did that process unfold? What did former FSU officials, former FSU presidents, former FSU athletic directors, what did they check off on? What did they give approval on as that process unfolded until today? Did they keep ratifying or certifying amendments to the contract, which in a court of law could be argued Florida State was fully aware of what they were getting involved with, and they checked the boxes. I hope that is not the case. I don't feel that's the case, but you never know if a case goes to court. That's why it's better for both sides to negotiate a settlement, because when it goes to court, whether it's a jury trial or it's a panel of judges makes the decision, you never know what could happen. You just don't know. So a settlement is what I believe FSU's goal is, to force out of the ACC prior to any discovery being issued. I think they would rather do that, because if you get into discovery, not only do you get a lot of embarrassing and ugly information, but there can be leaks. Okay, it can be very substantial leaks out to media, which can be very embarrassing for a whole bunch of people. And I don't think the ACC really wants to go through a discovery type of situation. Thoughts on going independent like ND if we can't get into the Big Ten or SEC right away? I think that I think that's what Florida State would do. I think if they go forward with this lawsuit and they win the lawsuit, and there's a settlement in the case, then I believe they would exit the ACC according to whatever settlement is reached, whatever the dates of exiting would be, and they would become an independent unless they had another conference to roll into, which in this case, I do believe the Big Ten. And why do I say the Big Ten? The Big Ten, if you think of them, if you're one of their executives and you're working with TV people, the Big Ten, who's been centered mostly in the central portions of the United States, okay, northern central parts, when they added Maryland, they added Rutgers, they started to get an East Coast presence. Then they added out on the West Coast, they've added Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA. They've covered the West Coast now. And now they need a footprint down south. Florida State gives them that footprint. If they grab a Clemson along the way, they also get that. And or Miami. Okay. So this is a coordinated deal between the Big Ten and their TV media folks, corporations, to figure out how are they going to become the mega conference with the best TV rights. And that's what it's going to be. Florida State has one avenue to go, and it's to the Big Ten. The worst case should be the SEC. That's it. That's the path forward. There's not like 10 roads out of this thing or where to go. That's where Florida State needs to head. And there's no doubt in my mind they will get into one of the two. I prefer to see the Big Ten, especially given what's gone on here between ESPN, the SEC, and what went on with the playoffs this year. So I tried to get through everybody's questions and comments here. At this point, I'm going to leave the air here. There's a lot going on, but the big news right now, a lawsuit. FSU is filing a lawsuit through their outside counsel in the Circuit Court of Florida in Tallahassee against the ACC. That is the big news of the day. There'll be a lot of questions and discussion, but keep focused on that issue alone. There really is, the realignment is all going to be speculation at this point until Florida State wins this lawsuit or wins in settlement against the ACC to reduce or eliminate the penalty for withdrawing. And then the grant of rights issue also has to be satisfied and could be incorporated, obviously, in the settlement of this lawsuit. So congratulations to Florida State University. This is bigger than anything else that's in the Florida State media discussion at this point. As far as I'm concerned, it's bigger than the exhibition Orange Bowl, as I said. It's bigger than the high school signings. It's bigger than anything in the portal we'll get for 2024. This is a huge event, and I'm astonished to be able to see this happening, but I'm so glad that is a concrete step for Florida State moving forward. Okay, this is Bruce, the old man, and thank you so much for joining us today. And our final comment for the day, take care and go Noles. That's what I say. Go Noles, keep pushing. We unconquered. That is our motto. We're unconquered, and we're not going to get conquered by the ACC. We're going to leave the ACC, and we're going to move this program forward to compete for national titles once again. So keep the faith. 2 thumbs up. Merry Christmas to you guys, and a Happy New Year if we don't see you before then. And great news for Florida State University. Lawsuit filed against the ACC today. It will be filed in court this afternoon. Thanks for joining me. This is Bruce the Old Man saying goodbye right now. Bye-bye.